Hello everyone, today we're learning mציעא daf gimel. We're going to start from about 7-8 lines down. We're going to read it and then we're going to explain it outside. למה מתניתין דלא כרבי יוסי? דאיקר רבי יוסי אמר, אם כן מה הפסיד רמאי אלא הכל יהיה מונחת שיבוא אליהו. אלא מאי רבנן, כיוון דאמרי רבנן, אשר יהיה מונח עד שיבוא אליהו, אינה מקשר דמי דספקאי היימאי. היא אמרת בשלם רבנן, הטם דוודאי היימנה דחד מניו, אמרי רבנן יהיה מונח עד שיבוא אליהו, אחא דאיקא למעמדת הרוויו, אמרינן רבנן פלגי בשבועה. אלא היא אמרת רבי יוסי, אשתא ומה הטם דוודאי איקא מנה למר ואיקא מנה למר. אמר רבי יוסי, יהיה מונח עד שיבוא אליהו, אחא דאיקא למעמד אחד מניו לא כל שכן. אפילו תמר רבי יוסי, אתה ודאי כרמאי, אחא מי אמר דאי כרמאי? אמר תרוויו בעד דעדה הגבוה. אינמי, אתה מכניס לרבי יוסי לרמאי, כי איך דלודי, אחא מאי פסדה איתלה דלודי. תנח מציע מקח וממכר מאי כלממה, אלא מחברת כדשנינן מעיקרה. So we learned in the Mishnah on Daf base that two people come to Beis Din holding a talis, each one says it's mine. We say each one makes a shvur that he owns at least half, and they split it with a shvur. Now the din of Rabbi Yossi and Rabbanon is later on in mציעא. It's told by Reuven and Shimon that deposited money to Levi. One deposited 200 and one deposit 100. And now comes that time to pay back the deposit. Both Reuven and Shimon say they deposited 200. So we don't know who to give the 200 back and the 100 back to. So what do we do? Rabbanon say 100 you give back to each one, because for sure each one deposited minimum 100. And the third 100 that we don't know who to give it to, Reuven or to Shimon, we say Munachat Sheyova Eliyahu. We should sit until Eliyahu comes, and then we'll decide. When Eliyahu comes and tells us who was the real owner, he gets it back. And Rabbi Yossi says no. If you'll do so, the liar who deposits 100 is not losing anything. So therefore, if he's not losing anything, he won't have no reason to be moida to admit that he was lying, because he's getting his 100 back. Therefore, what does the Rabbi say? The whole 300 we don't give back to any of them, and then the guy who was lying will realize, oh, I'm losing my 100, and it will be a reason for him to admit that he only deposited 100, and then everyone's going to get what they deserve. So Gemara is suggesting that Rabbi Yossi doesn't fit in our Mishnah. Rabbi Yossi doesn't go with our Mishnah, because Rabbi Yossi said, Yemunach, when you have a suffix, you put the money aside. And here, when you have a suffix about this talis in our Mishnah, we said, Yechloiku b'shvur. So the Mishnah is not like Rabbi Yossi. It says the Gemara, okay, so if it's Rabbi Yossi, it's mashma that Rabbanon, it does fit in. Also, if you're Rabbanon, it doesn't fit in, because what did Rabbanon say? That the 100 that we don't know, we say that sits until Eliyahu comes. Very good, you give back the other 200 to 100 to each, because you know who they belong to. But what the chelek that we have a suffix on, we say it should be munachat sheyova Eliyahu. And over here, the whole talis, we have a suffix who it belongs to. And we say achloiku b'shvur, so l'chayr also if you're Rabbanon, it does not fit in. Says the Gemara, no. Haymai. It does fit in that bishleim if you're Rabbanon, by over there, that for sure one of them, it doesn't go. Reuven deserves for sure 100. Shimon deserves 100, and the third 100 belongs or to Reuven or to Shimon. Therefore, we say it's munach, because it can't be both of them, and therefore we don't say achloiku. Mashenkin in our Mishnah, that this talis could be that they picked it up together and belongs to both of them. That's why the Rabbanon here say yechloiku b'shvur. You do split it up. Over there, if you say achloiku, it's for sure not the right thing. Therefore, our Mishnah could fit in like Rabbanon. But if Rabbi Yossi says a Gemara, well, over there when we know for sure that the first 200, one belongs to Reuven and one belongs to Shimon, and we still say Yamunach. Over here, they could be, it belongs all to one, we should say Achloiku. It doesn't make any sense. Our Mishnah doesn't fit in like Rabbi Yossi. Said the Gemara, really could fit in like Rabbi Yossi. And the Gemara says two terutzim. First teretz is that over there, for sure there is a Ramai. For sure someone's cheating. Or Reuven or Shimon only deposited 100 and not 200, and one of them is for sure lying. One of them who's saying 200 is for sure lying. Therefore, you put it and you say Munach Mashenkin in the Mishnah, that it could be that belongs to both. So therefore, we say the din is that we split it b'shvua, and therefore the Mishnah could fit in like Rabbi Yossi. That's the first teretz. Second teretz, inami, over there we give a knas, we especially say Munach on the whole 300 to make the Ramai, the cheater, to be moida, because he should lose. Because for sure, there is what he should lose. But here, let's say we'll say Munach. They come and say, Reuven says, Anim Tosio, Shimon says, Anim Tosio. And Reuven really didn't find it. Really, Shimon picked it up first. So if we say it's going to be Munach, Reuven has no incentive to be moida because he never picked it up. Well, why is he going to lose by that? It should be Munach. So Shimon doesn't get it. Okay, she doesn't care about Shimon. Reuven doesn't care about Shimon. Reuven has no incentive to be moida because he's not losing anything. There'll be Munach. If he comes and admits to the truth that Shimon picked it up first, he's not getting anything. So we have no reason to say Munach, and therefore Yachloiku b'shvuah. That's the second teretz of the Gemara. Ask the Gemara Kasha on that, on the second teretz, Teinach, Mציעא, very good Mציעא. You could say that there's no reason that he's not losing anything, and therefore if we say Munach, he won't be moida. But by Mekach u'Memkar, we said that the Mishnah, there's two cases in the Mishnah, there's Anim Tosio v'Kula Shali. One is talking about the Mציעא, and one's talking about Mekach u'Memkar, that Reuven and Shimon bought something from Levi. They both gave money to Levi, and we're not sure who really bought it off Levi, and we said the same thing applies. So over there, if we're going to say it's going to be Munach, you're going to make the Ramai lose. Why? Because if Reuven and Shimon gave money to Levi, really Shimon gave the money first, and he did that bar first, and really belongs to him. And Reuven is a Ramai. He forced Levi to take the money, and he picked it up later, the item. So if we say now everything's going to be Munach, also what you bought from Levi and also the money you gave to Levi, so the liar, Reuven, or whoever it's going to be, he's losing his money he gave to Levi. And he doesn't have the items. He has a reason to be moida. And afilu it says in the Mishnah that by Mekach u'Memkar you say Achloiku b'shvuah. So we could see it doesn't make sense at Teretz. We said the difference is about if the Ramai has a reason to lose or not. Because by Mekach u'Memkar there is something he could lose, and afilu you say Achloiku b'shvuah. Says the Gemara on that, Ela mechavrata kedeshim mikar. The truth is, the first Teretz that we said the chilik is that over there it's not for sure Ramai, and over here maybe there's no Ramai because maybe they actually did pick it up together by Mציעא and by Mekach u'Memkar. Maybe they gave the money together, and therefore they're both koina. Therefore, there's not for sure Ramai. That's the difference between our Mishnah and the case over there, and therefore Rabbi Yossi will be moide in our Mishnah that this will be the din because it's not a Ramai 100%. So the Gemara weiter. Ben לרבנן ובין לרבי יוסי, אתם גבי חנווני על פנקסו, דקטני, זה נשבע ונוטל, וזה נשבע ונוטל, מה ישנה דלא אמרינא נפקא לממונה מבעל הבית, ויהיה מונח עד שיבוא אליהו, דו בוודאי עיקר רמאי, אמרי, התם היינו תם, דאמר לי חנווני לבעל הבית, ענה שליחוסא דידך כאבידנא, מה איתלי גבי שכיר, אף על גב דקמשתבא לי, לא מאמר לי בשבוע. את האמנת דלא אמרת לי, וסהדי הבלה, ושכיר נמי אמר לבעל הבית, אין הבדי אביד את הגבוך. מה היית לי גבי חנווני? אף על גב דמשתבא לי, לא מאמן. ילקח תוואי משתבא לי ושק לי מבעל הבית. So the Gemara over here is going back to the case that we learned on that base, about a case where Reuven owed money to his workers, and he told them, instead of giving you money, go to the local shop, and I owe you 100, and take stuff from the shop, value 100, and that will be instead of your payment for the work you've done. And Reuven goes to the shop owner, to Shimon, and he tells him, listen, my workers are going to come to you, they're going to take produce worth 100, don't charge them, and then charge me and I'll pay you. The end of the day came, and the poyalim, the workers, say, we didn't collect any produce from the shop, therefore we want our 100, please pay it to us. And the shopkeeper says, the workers came and took value of 100 over here, please pay me. And we say over there, the din is that they both make a shvur, the workers and the owner of the shop, and they come to Reuven, and Reuven has to pay both. So the Gemara says, L'chora bein Rabbi Yossi and bein Rabbanon, in the case of 100 and 200, they both don't fit in over there, because over there, again, there's for sure Ramai, all the shopkeepers lying about the workers coming to take produce, all the workers are lying about not taking the produce, and really they did. And we still say each one gets what they were promised. And we don't say munach, that it should be, the money should sit until Eliyahu comes. So that over there doesn't fit in, not like Rabbanon and not like Rabbi Yossi. Says the Gemara, because over there for sure there's the Rama. Says the Gemara, no. Over there I'll tell you what the reason is. You know why Rabbi Yossi and Rabbanon will admit that the Balabais has to pay both of them, the workers and the shop owner. And the Gemara explains, because the shop owner says to the Balabais, sir, I don't know your workers. I don't trust them. You trust them. You told me I should give them the items. You never told me to bring Eidim, that when I give them the items, I should have Eidim that I gave them the items as a proof. You told me, so I trust them because you told me to trust them. I'll never trust them, but you trust them. I did your job. You asked me to give them produce worth 100. I've done it. Please pay me. I don't care what the other person says. And also over here, and also the Poyalim also say, listen, we did work by you. We deserve to get paid 100 for the work we've done. We never got anything from the shop. Please pay us. I don't care that the Balabais makes a shvur. I don't trust the Balabais' shvur. Please pay me. So therefore, each one by himself, nothing to do with the other one, comes over time at the Balabais, and therefore Balabais is stuck. He doesn't know who to pay and who not. He has to pay everyone. Over there, where one deposited 200 and one deposited 100, it was talking about, we see the Gemara later on, that they both deposited together and they trust each other. And therefore, the guy who got the money deposited by him says, I didn't have to remember exactly who he was, because you trusted each other. So therefore, one of them's for sure lying. So we say, yeah, munach, until the Ramai admits. So therefore, that is not a stira between the two cases, and even Rabbi Yossi and Rabbanon could fit in with the case of Balabais and the Poyalim. So the Gemara weiter. Tani Rab Chia, moni li biyotcho, והלא אומר, אין לך בידי כלום, והעדים מעידים אותו שיש לו 50 זוז. נותן לו 50 זוז, וישבע על השער, שלא תהיה הודעת פיו גדולה מהדעת עדים מקל וחומר. ותן נתון השניים אוחזים בטלית, זה אומר אני מצטיע. ואחא כיוון דתפיס, אנן צעד דמאי דתפיס הידידהו. מאי דתפיס הידידהו, וקטני ישבע. מאי שלא תהיה הודעת פיו גדולה מהדעת עדים מקל וחומר, שלא תאמר הודעת פיו הוא דרמי רחמנה שבועה כדרבא, דאמר רבא מפני מה אמרה תורה מודה מקצת הטענה ישבע, חזקה אין אדם מעיז פניו בפני בעל חובו, ואי בכולי באין דנכפרי, ואי דלא כפרי משום דאין אדם מעיז פניו. ג' עמוד ב', ואי בכולי בוי דלא ידע, ואי דלא ידע השתמות ודקמשתמת מיני, סבר עד ההווה לזוזה ופרן עלי, ואמר רחמנה רמי שבו עלי כאיכי דלא ידע לי בכולי, אבל העדת העדים דלקה למי מראחי אימה לו, כמה שברן קל וחומר. ומהי קל וחומר? ומה פיו שאין מחייבו ממון מחייבי שבועה, העדים שמחייבים אותו ממון, אינו דין שמחייבים אותו שבועה, פיו אין מחייבו ממון, והודעת בעל דין כמאה עדים דמי. והממון קנס. מה הפיו שאם מחייבו קנס? אם מחייבו שבועה, דין שמחייבים אותו קנס, אינו דין שמחייבים אותו שבועה? מה לפיו שכן מחייבו קורבן? כלומר בעדים שאין מחייבים אותו קורבן. או לא קשיא רב חייא כרמר סביר אלי דאמר עדים מחייבים אותו קורבן מקל וחומר. דתנן אמרו לו שניים אכלת חלב, הוא אמר לו אכלתי, רמר מחייב וחכמים פטרים. אמר רמר אם הביאו שניים לידי מיתה חמורה לא יביאו לידי קורבן הקל? אמרו לו מה אם ירצה לומר מזיד הייתי ייפטר. אלא מה לפיו שכן מחייבו אשם? אשם? הייני קורבן. אלא מה לפיו שכן מחייבו חומש? הלא כאשר רב חייא כרמר סביר עלי. כאחד מחייב לי קורבן מקל וחומר, מחייב לו חומש מקל וחומר. אלא מה לפיו שכן אינו בהכחשה והזמה? כלומר בעדים שישנם בהכחשה ובהזמה. אלא עתיה מעד אחד. מה העד אחד שאין מחייבו ממון? מחייבו שבועה. עדים שמחייבים אותו ממון אינו דין שמחייבים אותו שבועה? מה לעד אחד שכן על מה שהוא מעיד הוא נשבע? כלומר בעדים על מה שכפה הוא נשבע. So the Gemara over here, back to Amud Aleph, is saying a new din of Reb Chiya. Reb Chiya says a din and he brings a raya from the Mishnah. So we know that if Reuven comes to Shimon and tells Shimon, you owe me 100. And Shimon says, no, I only owe you 50. So he's considered moide b'miktsas. He admits for a part. So the din is, or the part he admits to, he has to pay because that means when someone admits to a payment, it's at the biggest reason to pay it. And the other 50 that he doesn't admit to, he has to make a shvur. He has to make a shvur that he doesn't owe it. It's called moide b'miktsas. And chayev shvur on the rest. So again, Reuben says to Shimon, you owe me 100. Shimon says, I owe you 50. 50, he pays the other 50, he has to make a shvur. Comes the Reb Chiya and tells us a big chiddush. And the chiddush is as follows. He says that the same case, like moide b'miktsas because of yourself, so also machmas eidim, it's the same thing. Reuben comes to Shimon and says, you owe me 100. And Shimon says, I don't owe you nothing. And then Reuben brings eidim, that Shimon owes 50. So obviously, you have eidim for 50, Shimon has to pay the 50. Says Reb Chiya, big chiddush, on the other 50, he has to make a shvur. Like if he admitted for the 50, he has to make a shvur on the other 50. If he admitted because of eidim, the eidim falls in the 50, so also the other 50 have to make a shvur. That's a chiddush of Reb Chiya, and Reb Chiya says we see it in the Mishnah. V'tana tuna, we have a raya from our Mishnah, because b'chor our Mishnah is a similar case. Two people coming to Beis Din holding a talis. Reuven says, this is all mine. So he's basically claiming from Shimon the whole talis. And Shimon says, I know it's all mine. That means he says, I don't owe you anything. And now Eidim come and say he owes 50 because Reuven holding the talis is like Eidim that he owes, that he gets 50. And we still see, and we see that Shimon has to make a shvur on the other 50. So the Chor, we have a raya from our Mishnah to the din of Reb Chiya. The moide b'miktsas is not only al piv when he's moide, also when Eidim make him be moide. And over here, him holding the talis is like 50, like there's Eidim on 50. The Gemara later on is going to discuss exactly that. It's similar, it's not similar, we'll see later on. Says Reb Chiya, I have a raya from the Mishnah. And the way we learn it's a kal v'chomer. If already when you admit you have to make a shvur, kol v'shekein when Eidim come you have to make a shvur. So the Gemara wants to understand. Reb Chiya said that you shouldn't. That you know why you know how I know it from a kal v'chomer that you shouldn't think that only when you admit 50, then you have to make another shvur on another 50. But if you Eidim came on 50, you won't have to make a shvur on another 50. I have a kal v'chomer to tell you not like that. The Gemara wants to understand what would be the hava mina to think that only on 50, only by moide b'miktsas if you admit with your mouth, then you have to make a shvur on the other 50. But if Eidim came on 50, you don't have to make a shvur on the other 50. What would be the svara to say so? Say the Gemara, I'll tell you why. Because I might think that the whole reason why Moedim Miktas, when someone admits 50, has to make a shvur is like Rabbah. Because what does Rabbah says? Rabbah says, the Reuven comes to Shimon and says, you owe me 100. And Shimon wants to say, I don't owe you anything, because he doesn't have the money to pay back now. But he doesn't have the guts to say that, because Reuven made him a favor and gave him a loan. He doesn't have the guts to fight on the whole 100. And really he wants to admit on the whole 100, because he knows he owes a whole 100, but he just doesn't have the money now. So he says, you know what, I'll say 50, I'll pay 50 now, and later on I'll get more money, I'll pay him. So that's why the Torah made him make a shvur, because we want him to admit on the whole 100. So pay the 50 now, and we want you to admit the whole 100. And we make you make a shvur that you won't make a shvur l'sheker, and you'll admit to the whole 100. That's very good by a svara when someone's moite b'miktas by himself. But if he didn't admit to anything, he said, I don't owe you anything. And now Eidim came and said 50. So we can see this guy has guts to fight his malvet, to fight Reuven who lent him money. And he's a liar, because we have Eidim over here that he owes at least 50. And he said he doesn't owe anything. So maybe like we see he's lying about money, we won't trust him with a shvur, and we can't be mechayev a shvur. And therefore we won't be mechayev a shvur on the other 50. Kamash malon, that's why we learn from the Kal V'chomer, that we're going to see in a minute what the Kal V'chomer is. Well, no, we make him make a shvur even in the case where he didn't admit, where Eidim made him admit. So the Gemara goes on and says, what is a Kal V'chomer? Why is the Kal V'chomer? If already Moide B'miktas has to pay, so also Moide B'miktas Alete Eidim has to pay. So the Gemara, I'll tell you what's a Kal V'chomer. If already Piv, if I admit for something, I don't have to pay, that's not so strong, I don't need to pay. And the Gemara in a second is going to ask that no, you do have to pay if you admit to something, we'll see. But the Gemara is understanding now, if already your mouth doesn't mechayev you money, it's mechayev Yeshua on the other 50. Eidim, that if Eidim come and say someone owes someone money, we trust these Eidim, so they could be mechayev money. Even kol shekain, they'll be mechayev Yeshua on the other 50. And that the Gemara asks straight away, what do you mean piv eino mechayev imam? What does it mean that if someone admits he doesn't have to pay? We know, that if I come and admit I owe Levi money, I have to pay Levi. That's it. I can't change my mind. So what are you telling me? If already Piv is not mechayev money, Eidim is, it's not true. Piv is mechayev money. Said the Gemara, when I said Piv is not mechayev moment, I meant knas. If Reuven comes to Bezdin and says he stole from Shimon an item, and normally a Ganav has to pay kefel. Kefel is knas, capital is me'ikadin. So he only has to pay the capital, because we learned it many times in Baba Kama, that moide beknas potter. That only if Eidim come, he has to pay the knas, but if he admitted, he's potter. So that's a Kal V'chomer. If someone admits about a knas, he's potter. And if Eidim come and says that he's chayav a knas, he needs to pay. So if Piv is mechayev shvur on the other 50, so also kol shekain Kal V'chomer, that the Eidim will be mechayev a shvur on the other 50. Said the Gemara, kash on that. No, it's not true. Piv, when someone admits, it's stronger than Eidim in a certain case. And what that case? Of a carbon. If I come to Bezdin and say I was mechal Shabbos b'shoigig, I'm chayav a carbon. But if Eidim come and say I was mechal Shabbos b'shoigig, I'm not mechayev a carbon. So we could see admitting is stronger in a certain case than Eidim. So you can't say Kal V'chomer if already Piv is mechayev shvur, so kol shekain Eidim. No, Eidim is weaker than Piv in certain cases. And what's that case? The case is a carbon. So the Gemara, no, that's not kash on Reb Chia. Why not? Because Reb Chia holds like Reb Meir. Now we learned, if two people came to Bezdin and told him, you ate chelev, and on chelev you have to bring a carbon, and he says, I never ate, I don't know what you're talking about, Rameh says, you have a carbon. Chachamim say you're poiter. But Aryeh says Yechayev a carbon, so you can't say Piv is weaker, is stronger because it's Mechayev a carbon more than Eidim, because if you're Aryeh, even Eidim is Mechayev a carbon. And then what did Aryeh tell? And then the Gemara brings a continuation that Aryeh told Chachamim, L'chora, the din is like me. If Eidim come and say Reuven was Mechal Shabbos, Mezid will kill Reuven. We trust Eidim even for a strong thing like killing Reuven. So Kal V'chomer, we should trust them to Mechayev Reuven a carbon that's less than killing him. And the Chachamim didn't like that, and Chachamim say no. By a carbon, the person could always say, no, I was Mezid, and a Mezid doesn't bring a carbon. That's what they say. They didn't come and say he ate Chelev. So the guy could say, I ate Chelev b'Mezid, and I'm not Chayav a carbon. So we don't have a trust of Eidim for carbon, only for Mamonis and for killing, but not for carbon. But for our subject, we are holding, the Reb Chia holds like Rameh, that Eidim could be Mechayev a carbon, and therefore we have no kasha on the Kal V'chomer of Reb Chia. Says the Gemara, different kasha. I'll tell you another kasha. How could you tell me Kal V'chomer that if Piv is Mechayev Shvua, Eidim even more so? No, Piv is stronger than Eidim. What's the case? The case is Osham. We have this case again in Baba Kama many times. Reuven comes to Shimon and he says, you owe me money for some reason, I gave you a deposit or loan, you stole off me, etc. And Shimon makes a shvua that it's not true. And then Shimon admits, so Shimon has to pay back the money and has to give a chomish and has to give a carbon asham. If Eidim came and said that Shimon really owes the money, Shimon won't have to bring a carbon, only have to pay the capital. So the Gemara says here, I have a case where Piv, where person's mouth, person admitting, is stronger than Eidim. So how could you tell me Kal V'chomer that Eidim is stronger than his mouth in the case of Asham? So the Gemara, no, Asham is like a carbon. So like Reb Chia holds like Reb Meir, that Eidim could Mechayev your carbon. So Reb Meir also holds, not like we learned all this time, that if someone makes a shvul a sheker and then admits he's chayav a carbon, but if Eidim come, he'll be pot of a carbon. No, Reb Meir will hold that even in such a case, when Eidim come, he'll be chayav a carbon. So therefore, you don't have a kasha that Piv is stronger than Eidim, because Eidim is also mechayev a carbon asham. So the Gemara, I have another kasha that Piv is mechayev chomish, that in the case we just spoke about, where Shimon made a shvul, a sheker to Reuven and said he doesn't owe him, and then he comes and admits, so the din is Shimon has to pay the capital and the fifth on top of the capital. So l'chora, that's only when he admits. But if Eidim come and says, no, Shimon, you're lying, he doesn't have to pay the fifth on top of the capital. So we could see that Piv is stronger than Eidim, so you don't have a Kal V'chomer. So the Gemara, that's also not a kasha. Because the Reb Chia holds like Reb Meir, that Eidim are Mechayev carbon. So also the same Kal V'chomer to Mechayev a carbon, the Reb Meir said, if already Eidim Mechayev Yemisa, they'll be Mechayev carbon. Reb Meir is also going to say about chomish, if already Eidim could kill a person, so for sure they'll be Mechayev your chomish. And therefore, Reb Meir holds, the Reuven came to Shimon and claimed a certain claim, and Shimon made a shvul a sheker, and then Eidim came and said it's not true. So the Shimon will need to pay the capital, a fifth, and the carbon. So therefore, Eidim are exactly like Piv, and therefore you can't tell me that Piv is stronger than Eidim, because Piv is mechayev chomish and Eidim are not mechayev chomish, because lefishetas Reb Meir, also Eidim are mechayev chomish. Therefore, you don't have any kasha. Said the Gemara, I'll tell you a different kasha. If someone comes to Bezdin, I'll bring you a raya that Piv is stronger than Eidim. That if someone comes to Bezdin and says, Reuven comes to Bezdin and says, I owe Shimon money because on Sunday morning, at 8 o'clock in the morning, I borrowed off him money on this and this street and this city. And now Eidim come and say, what are you talking about? On Sunday at 8 o'clock in the morning, you're in a whole different country. You're with us somewhere else. That's called azoma. You won't say he doesn't need to pay. No, Reuven still needs to pay. There's no din azoma by moide aiduas baldin. When someone admits to something, even if Eidim come and says it's not true what he's saying, doesn't matter if it's akhosha, if they said it's not true, azoma, they say imonu aisem, on that day you're with us somewhere else, he still needs to pay. Masha'inkin, if Eidim come and be made that Reuven owes Shimon money because he borrowed money on a Sunday at 8 o'clock, and another group of Eidim come and say, this person, these Eidim who were made on Sunday were with us in a different country, or they say this is not true, we were there and we saw something else. So we won't believe Eidim, we'll cancel these Eidim. So we could see that Piv is stronger than Eidim. But even if they muzam or mukhash, we still believe Piv. Mashenken Eidim, if they mukhash or muzam, we cancel them. So how could you tell me Kal V'choyma, if already Piv's chayiv shvur, Kal V'choyma Eidim? No. Piv in a certain way is stronger than Eidim. So what's Rab Chia's Kal V'choyma? Says the Gemara, a new pshat. Rab Chia was not learning a Kal V'choyma, if already Piv, so Kal V'choyma Eidim. Rab Chia was learning from Eid Echad, because we know the din is that if one Eid, not two Eidim, come and say Reuven owes Shimon money, I saw him getting money off Shimon, and it's only one Eid, so the din is Reuven won't need to pay Shimon, but Reuven has to make a shvur. Eid Echad is mechayiv your shvur on what the Eid is made. So Eid is made that Reuven owes Shimon, so Reuven has to make a shvur. That's not true. And if he doesn't make a shvur, Reuven needs to pay. So the Kal V'choyma is as follows. If already Eid Echad, can we mechayiv your shvur, kol shekein two Eidim. On that, the Gemara asks the question, but what's the case of Eid Echad? Eid Echad says Reuven owes Shimon 100, so Reuven has to make a shvur on 100. Very good. So, but what happens when two Eidim come and say Reuven owes 100 to Shimon? Reuven has to pay it. What we are trying to learn, what's Rab Chia's case when Eidim was made on 50, that will be mechayiv a shvur on the other 50. And now you can't learn from Eid Echad, because Eid Echad is only mechayiv shvur on what the Eid is making a shvur. So you can learn to that, but to that you don't need to learn because Eidim are mechayiv moment. On the other 50, you never see that the Eid is mechayiv. The Eid Echad can be mechayiv on something that he's not talking about. And that's what we want to learn about two Eidim, that will be mechayiv on the other 50 that they never even spoke about. So you can't learn this Kal V'choyma from Eid Echad. So we're going to leave it over here in a kasha that we don't really understand why does Rab Chia learn his Kal V'choyma that two Eidim who are made about 50, they'll be mechayiv a shvur on the other 50. And Be'ez Hashem, in next year we'll understand what's the Kal V'choyma of Rab Chia. Thank you very much.